The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The alien invasion came without warning. One moment, Earth was a thriving planet full of life. The next, it was a battlefield. Alien ships filled the sky, and within hours, most of the world's cities were destroyed. The humans, once proud and powerful, were now on the brink of extinction. The invaders, known as the Narkians, were ruthless. Their technology was far beyond anything humans could imagine, and their weapons were powerful enough to wipe out entire armies in seconds. The Narkians believed they had conquered the Earth easily. They had never faced a species like humans before, a species that had fought wars for centuries, a species that had survived wars, hunger, and disease. But what the Narkians didn't know was that humans were different. They didn't give up. They didn't break under pressure. They never stopped fighting. In a small hidden base on Earth, a group of survivors was planning the unthinkable. These weren't soldiers. They weren't warriors. They were just ordinary people, farmers, teachers, doctors, and students. But together, they were humanity's last hope. They had no advanced weapons, no armies, no secret technology. All they had was their will to survive. They began training in the old ways, using the skills passed down by their ancestors. They trained in the forests, learning how to use the environment to their advantage. They built traps, learned to move silently, and practiced using simple tools as weapons. At first, it seemed pointless. They were up against an enemy with powerful guns, flying ships, and the ability to wipe out entire cities in a blink. But every day, they grew stronger. They knew the Narkians would come looking for them. They knew that if they didn't act soon, humanity would be wiped out forever. But instead of fearing the aliens, they felt something else: determination. They weren't going to go down without a fight. They had something the Narkians didn't have: their resourcefulness, their ability to adapt, and their refusal to ever give up. The humans' first strike came sooner than they expected. A small group of Narkian scouts landed near the base, thinking they could easily wipe out the remaining survivors. The humans had prepared for this moment, and they used everything they had learned to their advantage. Using makeshift weapons and clever tactics, they ambushed the scouts, taking them by surprise. The Narkians didn't know what hit them. They had underestimated the humans' ability to fight with nothing but their bare hands and the land beneath them. After the victory, the survivors didn't celebrate. They knew this was just the beginning. The Narkians would send more soldiers. They would be stronger and better prepared. But the humans weren't afraid. They knew that each victory, no matter how small, brought them one step closer to their goal, taking back their planet. As weeks passed, the survivors grew bolder. They continued to train and learn. They started to organize into small groups, each group focusing on a different aspect of the fight. Some learned how to sabotage Narkian technology, while others honed their skills in hand-to-hand combat. A few even began to understand how the Narkian ships worked, and they managed to steal vital information about their enemies' weaknesses. One night, they struck again. This time, they didn't just fight a few scouts. They attacked a full Narkian outpost. The aliens were caught off guard, and before they could call for reinforcements, the humans had already disabled their communications and taken control of the base. The humans' actions sent shockwaves through the Narkian army. They had never seen anything like this before. The humans weren't just fighting, they were outsmarting them. And the Narkians were beginning to fear what humans could do when pushed to their limits. But with every victory, the stakes grew higher. The Narkians weren't just going to sit back and let the humans keep winning. They retaliated with force. Large battalions of soldiers, ships, and weapons were sent to Earth to crush the resistance once and for all. The humans knew this would be their toughest challenge yet. But they also knew that they had something the Narkians could never understand: the strength of human spirit. The final battle came sooner than anyone had expected. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched in every way. But they had one last advantage: their determination. The Narkians attacked in waves, thinking they could easily wipe out the last of humanity. But the humans fought back with everything they had, using every trick they had learned. They fought like no other species had ever fought before. The battle was fierce, and for a moment, it seemed like the humans might lose. But then something changed. The humans refused to give up. They fought harder, faster, and smarter than ever before. They pushed the Narkians back, one step at a time. Slowly, the tide began to turn. In the end, the humans won. Against all odds, against the most powerful enemy they had ever faced, humanity emerged victorious. The Narkians were forced to retreat, and Earth was free once again. The humans had done the impossible. They had fought like humans using their brains, their hearts, and their unbreakable will to survive. The world was forever changed. The survivors had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans could fight back and win. The Narkians learned a valuable lesson that day. Never underestimate the strength of humanity. When the alien invasion hit Earth, humanity was not prepared. The Narkians, a powerful race from beyond the stars, descended upon Earth with their advanced technology and ruthless soldiers. Their weapons were beyond anything Earth's armies had ever seen. Cities burned, nations fell, and most of the planet was taken over in a matter of weeks. The world's population was reduced to just a handful of survivors, hiding in the wilderness, away from the Narkian machines that patrolled the ruins of the cities. Among the survivors, a small group of ordinary humans decided to fight back. They weren't soldiers. They didn't have powerful weapons. They had nothing but their instincts, their minds, and their will to survive. They understood one thing: if they were going to survive, they would need to fight differently. The Narkians relied on strength and technology. Humans would rely on their survival skills. Led by a man named Jack, a former park ranger, the group began training. They found shelter deep in the forests, far away from the Narkian patrols. Jack taught them how to move silently, how to use the environment as their weapon. The humans didn't have guns or advanced technology, but they had the land. They learned to hunt, to trap, and to use every tool at their disposal to defend themselves. The first time they encountered the Narkians, they were shocked. The aliens were towering figures with weapons that shot blasts of energy, capable of disintegrating anything in their path. The humans were small and fragile in comparison. But Jack wasn't afraid. He knew that brute strength alone wouldn't be enough to defeat the Narkians. It was their survival instincts, their ability to adapt and think quickly, that would give them the edge. The humans watched from the shadows as a Narkian patrol moved through the forest. They didn't attack immediately. They waited. They studied the aliens, learning their movements, their weaknesses. The Narkians had the strength, but they lacked the ability to understand their environment. They were used to fighting in open spaces, where technology could give them the advantage. The humans, however, were comfortable in the forest, where they knew every tree, every rock, every hidden path. After days of watching, Jack and his group decided it was time to strike. They used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps that would slow the Narkians down. They covered the ground with sharp sticks, concealed beneath leaves, and created false trails that led the aliens into dead ends. When the Narkians were finally caught in their traps, the humans attacked. They used rocks, knives, and anything they could find as weapons. They fought with everything they had, taking advantage of the Narkians' lack of knowledge about the land. The battle was chaotic, but the humans' tactics worked. The Narkians were confused, caught off guard by the humans' ability to fight in ways they didn't understand. The humans didn't need advanced technology. They just needed to be smarter, faster, and more resourceful. By the end of the skirmish, the Narkians had retreated, leaving behind only a few of their fallen soldiers. The victory was small, but it was a victory nonetheless. The humans knew the Narkians wouldn't stop. They would return, stronger than before. But the survivors had learned something important: they could fight back. They had the power to survive, to outsmart their enemies. And that power was enough to give them hope. As the weeks went by, the humans continued to train. They perfected their techniques, becoming more and more skilled in the art of survival. They learned to use the forest not just as cover, but as a weapon. They built shelters that were nearly invisible to the Narkians, set up decoys to trick the enemy into following false trails, and created more advanced traps. The humans knew that every small victory brought them closer to their ultimate goal, reclaiming their planet. One day, the humans stumbled upon a Narkian supply camp hidden deep in the forest. It was heavily guarded, with Narkian soldiers patrolling the area. The humans knew this was their chance to strike a major blow against the invaders. Jack and his group spent days watching the camp, learning its patterns. They knew they couldn't just charge in. They had to use their wits to take the camp without direct confrontation. They devised a plan that relied on stealth and deception. They set fires in several locations far from the camp to draw the Narkians' attention. As the aliens moved to investigate, the humans infiltrated the camp. They sabotaged the weapons, destroyed the supplies, and stole valuable data that could help them in the future. By the time the Narkians returned, they found their camp in ruins. The Narkians were furious. They launched a full-scale attack on the humans' base, determined to wipe them out. But the humans were ready. They had prepared for this moment. They knew the Narkians would come, and they used everything they had learned to fight back. The battle was fierce, but the humans' ability to adapt, to think on their feet, gave them the edge. As the Narkians retreated once again, the humans realized something. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were fighting for their future. They were becoming a force to be reckoned with. The Narkians had underestimated them, thinking that strength and technology were all that mattered. But they hadn't counted on humanity's greatest weapon, the will to survive. With every victory, the humans grew stronger. The Narkians began to realize that they weren't dealing with just another species to conquer. They were facing an enemy that could think, adapt, and fight in ways they couldn't understand. The humans had proven that they weren't just survivors, they were fighters, and they would stop at nothing to take back their planet. The battle for Earth was far from over, but the humans knew one thing for sure: they had the power to win. The world had changed forever. What was once a thriving, peaceful Earth had become a war zone. Alien invaders, known as the Rethnar, arrived without warning. Their ships filled the sky, their weapons powerful enough to tear apart cities with ease. Within a matter of weeks, the Rethnar had taken control of most of the planet. Humans were pushed into hiding, their armies defeated, their cities in ruins. But humanity had not given up. Deep in the mountains, in a small hidden base, a group of survivors had gathered. These were not soldiers. They were ordinary people: farmers, teachers, engineers, and students. They had no advanced weapons, no high-tech equipment. What they had was their will to survive. And that, they believed, was enough to fight back. The leader of this group was Anna, a former wilderness guide. She understood survival better than most. In the world before the invasion, she had taught people how to navigate the wild, how to endure the harshest conditions. Now, she was teaching a new generation of humans how to survive against a more dangerous enemy, the Rethnar. Anna knew that brute strength wouldn't win this war. The Rethnar were bigger, stronger, and their technology was far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. But humans had something the Rethnar didn't: resourcefulness. Humans could adapt, think on their feet, and survive in ways that even the most advanced species couldn't predict. It was this survival instinct that would give them the edge. The training began with the basics: food, shelter, and defense. The group was divided into small teams, each focusing on a different skill. Some learned how to build hidden shelters in the forest, invisible to the Rethnar's advanced sensors. Others practiced making fire from nothing, using only natural resources. Everyone trained in hand-to-hand combat, learning to fight with sticks, knives, and whatever else they could find. At first, the group struggled. Many had never been in a survival situation before. They were scared, unsure of what to expect. But Anna pushed them hard. She knew that the only way to win was to make them stronger than they thought they could be. She pushed them past their limits, forcing them to face their fears and survive. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, the survivors began to change. They became stronger, more confident. They learned to think like predators, using their environment to hide and strike. They studied the Rethnar, learning their movements, their weaknesses. They practiced stealth, moving silently through the woods, staying hidden from the enemy's watchful eyes. They set traps simple but effective, using branches, ropes, and sharp stones. One day, after months of preparation, the survivors decided to test their skills. A small Rethnar patrol had been spotted near their base. The group was ready. This would be their first real fight. They moved quickly and silently, slipping through the trees and underbrush. Anna led them, her heart pounding in her chest. They knew the Rethnor were dangerous, but they had learned to trust their training. They had no choice. The Rethnor patrol was large 5 soldiers, each armed with advanced energy weapons. The humans were outmatched in every way. But Anna had a plan. They would use the element of surprise, strike fast, and then disappear before the Rethnor even knew what had happened. The first attack was a success. One of the Rethnor soldiers fell into a trap, his leg caught in a rope. He was pulled into the air, dangling helplessly. The humans quickly moved in, taking out the other 4 soldiers one by one. They used knives, rocks, and their fists, relying on speed and surprise. It was over before the Rethnor could respond. When the last soldier fell, the humans stood victorious. They had won their first battle. The Rethnor were not invincible. The survivors had proven that, with the right training and strategy, even the most powerful enemy could be defeated. But this victory came at a cost. The group knew that the Rethnor would send more soldiers. The humans could not keep hiding in the mountains forever. They needed a bigger plan, a way to strike back at the Rethnor and reclaim their planet. Anna gathered the group together. She looked at their faces, tired but determined. "This is just the beginning," she said. "The Rethnor won't stop. But we've learned something important today. We can fight back. We can win." The survivors knew Anna was right. They had been pushed to the edge, forced to survive against impossible odds. But they had fought with everything they had, and it had worked. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were fighting for their future. The humans spent the next few weeks preparing for the next phase of their plan. They knew the Rethnor would be coming, and they needed to be ready. They trained harder, refining their skills. They learned to build better weapons, create more advanced traps, and gather information about the Rethnor's movements. As the days passed, the survivors grew more confident. They had learned that strength wasn't just about weapons. It was about surviving, thinking, and outsmarting their enemies. And the Rethnor, for all their power, couldn't take that away. The final battle was coming. The humans knew it wouldn't be easy, but they also knew they were ready. They had trained for this moment, and they would show the Rethnor that humanity was stronger than they ever realized. When the time came, they would fight with everything they had and they would win. Because humans didn't just survive. They thrived, and they would prove it to the entire galaxy. The invasion came without warning. The sky turned dark as alien ships, like shadows of doom, filled the atmosphere. They were the Zalrath, a terrifying race of beings that conquered worlds with ease. Their ships were huge, their weapons deadly, and their armies endless. Earth, with all its beauty and history, was no match for their power. Cities were destroyed in days, and the world was plunged into chaos. But the Zalrath made a mistake. They underestimated the humans. The humans, scattered and desperate, had little more than their survival instincts and will to fight. They were weak compared to the Zalrath, at least. That's what the aliens thought. The Zalrath were used to conquering, not being challenged. They believed they had all the advantages, and the humans, in their eyes, were nothing more than an obstacle to clear away. In a small, forgotten corner of the world, a group of survivors had begun to organize. They were not soldiers. They were just ordinary people, farmers, mechanics, and office workers. But their leader, Rachel, a former military strategist, knew one thing: humans had something the Zalrath didn't. They had heart. They had resilience. And most importantly, they had brains. Rachel had a plan. She knew that the Zalrath depended too much on their strength and technology. They lacked the cunning that humans possessed. Humans could adapt, think on their feet, and survive in ways the Zalrath couldn't even imagine. She gathered her team, a small group of fighters, and started teaching them how to fight the Zalrath the way humans always had, by using their brains, not just their strength. The first lesson was simple: avoid direct combat. The Zalrath were too strong, their weapons too advanced. But Rachel knew that if they could outsmart the aliens, they had a chance. They began to learn the ways of guerrilla warfare: small, quick strikes that would catch the aliens off guard. They learned how to set traps, how to move quietly in the shadows, and how to use the environment to their advantage. It wasn't easy. The Zalrath were relentless. constantly patrolling the area, looking for signs of resistance. But Rachel's team was determined. They were small in number, but each person had a unique skill that made them essential to the plan. Ethan, a former mechanic, had an uncanny ability to fix broken machines. He turned old weapons into makeshift bombs and used alien technology against them. Leah, a former park ranger, knew the forests like the back of her hand. She set up hidden paths and camouflaged their camp so well that even the Zalrath scanners couldn't find them. ASA the weeks passed. Rachel's team grew bolder. They carried out small, tactical strikes against the Zalrath, sabotaging their equipment, stealing their supplies, and freeing captured humans. The aliens were confused. These humans, who they had thought were helpless, were proving to be a problem. The Zalrath underestimated them, thinking they could only fight with force. But they had learned the hard way. Humans fought with brains, with strategy, and with something far more dangerous than technology, their will to survive. Then, one day, Rachel's team made a discovery. They found a Zalrath base, hidden in the mountains. It was heavily guarded, with dozens of soldiers and advanced weaponry. The team knew that this could be their chance to deal a real blow to the Zalrath. But the base was nearly impenetrable. The Zalrath had thought of everything except one thing. Rachel had spent years studying military strategy, and she knew that no defense was perfect. She noticed a pattern in the Zalrath's patrols. Every night, the guards took the same route, walking the same path, without fail. That was their mistake. They had gotten too comfortable, too predictable. Rachel decided to take a risk. She planned a raid on the base. But this time, it wouldn't be just a small strike, it would be a full-scale attack. The humans would use everything they had learned to overwhelm the Zalrath in a way they never expected. They would fight like humans. The night of the raid, Rachel's team moved out. They used the cover of darkness, slipping past the Zalrath's defenses with expert precision. They planted explosives around the base, using the aliens' own technology against them. Ethan hacked into the Zalrath's communication systems, blocking their ability to call for backup. Leah led the team through the dense forest, using her knowledge of the terrain to stay hidden from the enemy's patrols. When they were in position, Rachel gave the signal. The explosion was deafening. The Zalrath base was thrown into chaos. The aliens, who had believed they were untouchable, were now scrambling, trying to regroup and defend themselves. But it was too late. The humans had already taken control. The Zalrath soldiers fought back, but they were disorganized, confused. They had expected a direct attack, not a group of humans using their brains and the environment to strike when the aliens least expected it. Rachel's team moved swiftly, picking off the scattered soldiers, taking out their weapons and supplies, and sabotaging their systems. The humans fought with everything they had, driven by a single goal, to show the Zalrath that humans weren't to be underestimated. By the time the Zalrath reinforcements arrived, it was over. Rachel's team had taken the base, destroyed the weapons, and captured key information about the Zalrath's plans. The humans had dealt a crushing blow to the aliens, proving that no matter how advanced their technology was, they could never defeat humanity's greatest strength, its ability to adapt, survive, and outsmart its enemies. The Zalrath, shocked and furious, retreated. They had made a fatal mistake underestimating the humans. They thought they could crush the human spirit with their strength and technology, but they had forgotten one thing: humans fight not just to survive, but to protect everything they hold dear. As Rachel and her team looked at the smoldering remains of the Zalrath base, they knew this was just the beginning. They had shown the aliens what it meant to fight like a human, and they would continue to fight until the day Earth was free. The first wave of the Xarn invasion was swift and brutal. Alien ships, unlike anything Earth had ever seen, appeared in the sky without warning. Their massive forms darkened the sky, blotting out the sun. The Xarn, a ruthless alien race known for conquering entire civilizations, arrived with only one goal: domination. The humans, unprepared for such an attack, fought back with everything they had. But their weapons were no match for the Xarn's advanced technology. Cities fell within days. The world's military forces were crushed, and humanity was driven into hiding, scattered in small groups across the globe. The Exarn thought it was over, that the humans would give up and surrender. But they were wrong. In the ruins of a destroyed city, a group of survivors gathered in secret. These were ordinary people, farmers, doctors, and teachers, nothing special. But in the midst of their desperation, they realized something: they could still fight. They might not have the advanced weapons the Exarn used, but they had something the aliens could never understand: human resilience. The group was led by a man named Marcus, a former army strategist who had lost his family in the early days of the invasion. He understood that brute force alone would not win this war. The Exarn were too powerful. But he also knew that humans had a strength that could never be measured in technology or firepower: the ability to adapt. Marcus began training the survivors. They practiced using simple tools, knives, rocks, and whatever they could find in the wreckage. They learned to move silently, to use the environment to their advantage. They studied the Exarn, watching their patterns, their weaknesses. The aliens relied too much on their technology, too much on their strength. Humans, on the other hand, were clever. They could think their way out of a situation. That, Marcus believed, was their true strength. Days turned into weeks, and the group became more skilled. They learned to set traps, to create distractions, and to move in and out of the shadows. They found ways to sabotage the Exarn supply lines, stealing weapons and supplies whenever they had the chance. They fought not by engaging in direct combat, but by using their wits. They were making the Exarn doubt their superiority. One day, a message arrived. The Exarn were moving toward a nearby city. It was their next target, and the group knew they had to act quickly. Marcus gathered his team and explained the plan. They would infiltrate the Exarn's camp, steal valuable information about their next move, and sabotage their communication systems. It was a dangerous mission, but they had no choice. If they didn't strike now, the Exarn would continue their march across the planet. The night before the mission, the group gathered in the ruins of an old building. The tension was thick in the air. Everyone knew the risks. But Marcus stood before them, calm and determined. "We don't have the strength of the Exarn," he said, "but we have something far more powerful: our will to survive. We fight not because we have to, but because we refuse to let them take everything we love. That's the hidden strength of humanity." As dawn broke, the group moved out, carefully navigating the ruins to avoid detection. They reached the Exarn camp without incident, hiding in the shadows as they observed the alien soldiers. The Exarn were large, with thick armor and advanced weapons, but they were not as cautious as they should have been. They believed they had already won, and that belief would be their downfall. The humans worked quickly. Ethan, the team's mechanic, disabled the Exarn's communication systems, while Leah, the sharpshooter, set up a series of distractions. The team's movement was coordinated and precise, every step taken with the purpose of confusing and disorienting the enemy. The Exarn were too focused on their technology to notice the humans working right under their noses. When the team had gathered all the intelligence they needed, Marcus gave the signal. The humans vanished into the shadows, leaving no trace behind. They had done it. They had struck a blow against the invaders, and the Exarn would never know what hit them. The mission was a success, but the true victory was more than just the sabotage. It was the realization that humanity had something the Exarn could never take away: the ability to think, to adapt, and to overcome impossible odds. The Exarn might have advanced technology, but they lacked the one thing that made humanity truly dangerous: its heart. Over the next few months, Marcus and his team carried out more raids against the Exarn, each one more daring than the last. They sabotaged supply lines, freed captured humans, and disrupted the aliens' plans at every turn. With each victory, the humans grew bolder, more confident. The Exarn were beginning to realize that this was no longer a one-sided war. The humans were fighting back, and they were winning. But it wasn't just the success of their missions that kept the humans going. It was the belief that they could overcome anything, that no matter how powerful the enemy, humanity would always find a way. The Exarn had underestimated them, thinking that technology and strength were the only things that mattered. But the humans knew better. Marcus gathered his team one last time, standing in front of a wall covered with maps and intel. The group had grown stronger, smarter, and more united with each passing day. We've come a long way, Marcus said, but this is only the beginning. We've shown the Exarn that they're not as invincible as they thought. And soon, they'll see what happens when humans fight with everything they have. The hidden strength of humanity had been revealed, and the Exarn were in for a fight they had never imagined. The humans weren't just surviving anymore, they were taking back their planet. The true power of Earth had awakened, and it was a force to be reckoned with.